Hey there, my friend. Have you ever felt like you understand English, you know the words, but when it comes to speaking, it just doesn't sound natural? Maybe you hesitate, translate in your head, or feel like something is missing in the way you talk? Well, don't worry. You're not alone. Today, I'm going to help you break free from that struggle. In this video, we're going deep into how to speak English naturally, just like native speakers. No boring grammar lessons, no textbook phrases, just real, practical ways to make your English flow smoothly, sound confident, and feel effortless. So grab your headphones, relax, and let's have a natural, friendly conversation about how you can make your English sound like a true pro. All right, first things first, what does it even mean to speak English naturally? Well, when you listen to fluent English speakers, you'll notice that their sentences are not always perfect, but their rhythm, tone, and confidence make it sound effortless. They don't pause to translate, they don't overthink grammar, and they don't sound robotic. So, if you want to speak naturally, you need to do a few key things differently than what you learned in school. Let's break it down. 1. Stop thinking in your native language. This is the biggest mistake most learners make. When you think in your native language and then translate, your sentences sound unnatural. For example, if your native language is Spanish, Hindi, or Chinese, the sentence structures are different from English. Let's say you want to say, I didn't go to the market yesterday because I was busy. But if you translate directly from your native language, it might come out as, yesterday, market I didn't go because busy I was. That's why direct translation doesn't work. Instead, you have to train your brain to think in English. But how? Start small. Describe what you're doing in English. If you're making tea, say in your mind, I am making tea, the water is boiling, I'll add sugar next. Use simple sentences. Don't try to be Shakespeare. Short, natural sentences work best. Talk to yourself. I know it sounds crazy, but just say things out loud. Narrate your actions. I'm opening the fridge. I need some milk. Oh, we're out of milk. I should buy some later. When you start thinking in English, speaking naturally becomes much easier. 2. Master the rhythm and flow of English. English has a natural rhythm. Some words are stressed and some are weak. If you speak every word with the same intensity, it sounds robotic. For example, listen to these two sentences. Robotic version, I am going to the market to buy some milk. Natural version, I'm going to the market to buy some milk. Notice the difference? Native speakers contract words and link sounds together. Here's how you can do it. Use contractions. Instead of I am, say I'm. Instead of do not, say don't. Reduce small words. Going to becomes gonna. Want to becomes wanna. And let me becomes lemme. Connect words. Pick it up sounds like pick it up in natural speech. A great way to practice this is by shadowing. Just pick an English podcast or a YouTube video and try to copy the way the speaker talks. 3. Learn common phrases instead of single words. Another big mistake, memorizing individual words instead of full phrases. For example, instead of learning just the word appointment, learn, I need to schedule an appointment. Can I book an appointment for tomorrow? When you learn full phrases, your speech becomes smoother. You don't have to think about every single word. You just pull out the phrase naturally. Some common, natural English phrases. What's up? Instead of how are you? I'm just kidding. Instead of I am joking. Let's grab a coffee. Instead of let's drink coffee together. See how these sound more natural? 4. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Keep talking. One of the biggest reasons people don't speak naturally is because they're scared of making mistakes. But guess what? Even native speakers make mistakes. The difference is they don't stop talking. If you say something wrong, just correct yourself and move on. For example, wrong? Yesterday, I go to the store. Correct yourself. Oh, I went to the store yesterday. It's that simple. Don't pause, don't get embarrassed, just keep going. The more you speak, the more confident you become. 5. Surround yourself with real English. If you want to speak naturally, you need to listen to natural English every single day. And no, I'm not talking about boring English textbooks. I mean real life conversations. Here's how you can do it. Checkmark watch movies and TV shows in English, with subtitles first, then without. Listen to English podcasts and audiobooks. Follow English-speaking YouTubers. Try language exchange apps like HelloTalk or Tandem. When you hear real conversations, you'll pick up natural phrases, intonations, and expressions without even realizing it. 6th, practice with real people. Lastly, nothing improves your natural fluency more than real conversations. Find someone to talk to, maybe a friend, a tutor, or even a stranger online. If you don't have anyone to practice with, try checking the box, talking to yourself in the mirror, recording yourself and listening back, using voice messages instead of text when chatting. The key is consistency. The more you practice speaking, the more natural it becomes. In our last segment, we dove into the core principles, stopping the habit of translating in your head, mastering the rhythm and flow of English, learning phrases over isolated words, not being afraid of mistakes, and immersing yourself in real English. Now, let's go even deeper into each of these ideas and explore additional tips, real-life examples, and personal insights to truly help you transform your English speaking skills. Imagine this. Every day is a mini adventure in language learning. I like to think of each moment as a chance to build my natural English fluency. Whether I'm out for a walk, making my favorite cup of coffee, or simply sitting by a window watching the world go by, I use these moments to practice thinking and speaking in English. This habit not only makes my language learning fun, but also effortlessly integrates natural speech into my everyday life. One of the most transformative practices is to immerse yourself in English environments. And not just passive listening. Engage actively. For instance, when you're watching your favorite TV series, try to mimic the dialogues, pause the video, and repeat what you hear. Let your mouth get used to the sounds, the contractions, and the natural cadence. It might feel strange at first, but trust me, the more you do it, the more your tongue will learn to dance to the rhythm of natural English. Another powerful tip is to record your own voice. I've found that recording myself while speaking freely about my day or narrating my thoughts really helps in noticing the small nuances. When you listen back, you can identify areas where your pronunciation might sound stiff or where you might be pausing too much. It's like having a personal coach who gives you honest feedback. Over time, this self-reflection helps you adjust and fine-tune your speech patterns. Plus, it's incredibly rewarding to see and hear how much you've improved. Let's talk about intonation and stress for a moment. English isn't just about the words. It's about the music of the language. Think of your favorite song. Notice how certain notes are held longer and how some are whispered softly. That's very similar to speaking naturally in English. When you say a sentence, certain words carry more weight. These are usually the words that convey the core meaning, while the others might be spoken more softly. For example, in the sentence, I really love spending time with my friends, the word really adds emotion and love is emphasized, while spending time with my friends flows more gently. Practice emphasizing different words and listen to native speakers to get a feel for how they modulate their voices. Another key to natural speech is familiarity with idioms and colloquial expressions. These are the little phrases that make language colorful and expressive. Phrases like hit the nail on the head, spill the beans, or even something as simple as I'm all ears bring a natural flair to your conversation. They might seem confusing at first, but when you see them used in context, you start to understand their meaning and rhythm. I recommend picking 1 or 2 idioms every week. Learn their meanings, practice using them in sentences, and soon they'll become a natural part of your vocabulary. Now, let's not forget the role of confidence in speaking naturally. Confidence isn't about speaking perfectly. It's about being comfortable with yourself and embracing the idea that mistakes are part of the learning process. Every time you speak, whether it's in a formal setting or just chatting with a friend, remind yourself that the goal is communication, not perfection. Even native speakers stumble over words or make minor mistakes. What makes them natural is their willingness to keep going. One strategy I use is to visualize a supportive audience in my mind, cheering me on with every word I say. This simple mental trick can really boost your confidence and reduce that nagging fear of making mistakes. It also helps to engage in conversation groups or language meetups. There's something uniquely energizing about speaking with others who share the same goal. Not only do you get the chance to practice, but you also learn from each other's mistakes and successes. I remember joining a local language club where we met every week to chat about different topics, from travel to food, from culture to everyday life. These sessions were eye-opening. They showed me that every little bit of practice helped me become more fluent and more natural. You might feel self-conscious at first, but every conversation builds your skills and your comfort level. Let's take a moment to explore a practical exercise you can do right now. Pick a simple daily activity, say, making a sandwich. As you prepare your sandwich, describe every step in English. I'm taking out the bread. Now I'm spreading peanut butter on one slice and jelly on the other. I'm putting them together, and here it is, a perfect peanut butter and jelly sandwich. This might sound silly, but it's incredibly effective. The more you describe your actions, the more you train your brain to think and express in English naturally. Eventually, this practice will help you narrate more complex thoughts with ease and clarity. Another tip I want to emphasize is the importance of contextual learning. Rather than studying words in isolation, try to learn them in context. This means associating new vocabulary with a particular situation or emotion. For instance, if you learn the word exhilarating, think of a time when you felt really excited, maybe a roller coaster ride or a spontaneous road trip with friends. By linking the word to a vivid memory, you'll not only remember it better, but also understand the nuances of how it's used naturally in conversation. In addition to these techniques, it's crucial to stay patient and persistent. Language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be days when you feel like you're not making any progress, but every moment you spend speaking, listening, or thinking in English contributes to your overall fluency. Celebrate your small victories. A conversation that went smoothly, a new phrase learned, or even just a moment when you felt confident speaking. These small successes add up, and over time, you'll see a significant transformation in your ability to speak naturally. I also want to share a personal story. When I first started learning English, I was terrified of speaking. I remember one instance at a social gathering where I tried to join a group conversation. I was so nervous that I kept repeating phrases I'd memorized, and my words sounded rehearsed and awkward. But then, something shifted. I realized that no one was judging me as harshly as I feared. I started to relax, laugh at my mistakes, and enjoy the flow of conversation. That experience taught me that the real essence of language is connection, sharing ideas, emotions, and experiences. Once I embraced that, my speech began to flow more naturally. I want you to know that you too can overcome that initial hurdle. Every conversation is a step forward, and with time, you'll find your voice and your unique style. One final idea to explore is the use of visual and auditory cues. Sometimes, associating words with images or sounds can help solidify their natural usage in your memory. For example, If you're learning about emotions, try to connect each word with a picture from your life. When you think of joyful, recall a moment when you felt pure happiness. If you're learning about actions, imagine the sound and rhythm of that action. By linking language to sensory experiences, you create stronger neural pathways that make speaking more natural and automatic. Remember, the journey to speaking English naturally is not just about acquiring a new language, it's about embracing a new way of thinking, experiencing, and interacting with the world. It's about breaking free from the limitations of your native language and allowing your inner self to express freely in English. Every practice session, every conversation, every mistake, and every success is a building block towards a more confident, fluent, and natural way of speaking. So, as we wrap up today's session, I encourage you to take these tips and try incorporating them into your daily life. Pick one or two strategies that resonate with you and give them a go. Experiment with shadowing, record yourself, use idioms, immerse yourself in English content, and most importantly, keep speaking without fear. Your journey might have ups and downs, but every moment spent practicing is a moment closer to your goal of speaking English naturally. Before we part ways today, I want to leave you with this thought. Language is not just a tool for communication. It's a bridge that connects us to different cultures, ideas, and people. Embrace every opportunity to use English as a means to connect, share, and learn. And remember, the more natural you speak, the more genuine your connections will be. Now, I want to share more personal stories, actionable exercises, and even explore some common challenges you might face along your journey to becoming a more fluent, natural English speaker. So let's jump right in. One of the biggest hurdles I faced when trying to speak naturally was feeling self-conscious every time I opened my mouth. I used to think that if I made even the tiniest mistake, everyone would notice. But the truth is, most people are far too wrapped up in their own thoughts to focus on every little slip-up. I remember a time when I was at a small gathering, and I hesitated before joining a conversation. I kept my eyes glued to the floor, worrying that my accent or phrasing might sound off. But then I took a deep breath and reminded myself, this is about expressing my ideas and connecting with others, not about achieving perfection. And guess what? Once I let go of that pressure, my speech became so much more fluid and genuine. A technique that really helped me was what I like to call the mirror method. Stand in front of a mirror and just talk. It doesn't matter if you're narrating your morning routine or sharing your thoughts about a movie you just watched. The key is to observe how your facial expressions change, how your mouth moves when you pronounce certain sounds, and even how you naturally emphasize some words over others. You might notice, for instance, that your smile brightens your tone or that a certain gesture naturally accompanies a particular phrase. This practice not only boosts your confidence, but also creates a visual memory that helps you recall and reproduce the natural flow of English. Another idea that's incredibly effective is joining a conversation circle or a language exchange group. I've been part of a few groups where people from different parts of the world come together to practice English in a relaxed, friendly environment. What I love about these sessions is that everyone is in the same boat, learning, making mistakes, laughing, and growing together. During these meetups, you're not just practicing vocabulary. You're also absorbing the cultural nuances that make English such a rich language. For example, you might learn how humor is expressed, or why certain phrases are used in specific social contexts. The more you expose yourself to these dynamic interactions, the more you'll start to think in English rather than translate from your native tongue. I also want to talk about the importance of listening. When I first started out, I used to watch English movies and shows with subtitles all the time, which is fine initially. But eventually, I learned that relying on subtitles can actually slow down your progress in speaking naturally. Subtitles often give you a word-for-word translation that doesn't capture the fluidity of spoken English. So I gradually transitioned to watching with English subtitles, and then to no subtitles at all. I began to really listen, not just to the words, but to the tone, the rhythm, and the emotion behind them. This shift made a huge difference. I started to pick up on natural intonations and even the little pauses that native speakers use to emphasize a point or let a thought sink in. Speaking of intonation, let's dig a bit more into that. The melody of English is one of the things that gives it its unique charm. It's like music, with highs and lows, crescendos, and soft notes. When you're speaking, try to think of your sentences as having a musical quality. For instance, when you're excited about something, let your voice rise naturally. When you're sharing something serious or reflective, allow it to drop a bit. This kind of modulation makes your speech much more engaging and authentic. A fun exercise is to record yourself saying the same sentence in different moods: happy, sad, excited, reflective, and then listen back to notice the differences in tone and pace. It's a playful way to become more aware of your natural speaking style. Now, I'm sure many of you have wondered how to deal with those awkward pauses or moments when you're not sure what to say next. Trust me, I've been there too. One trick is to use filler phrases that sound natural and give you a moment to gather your thoughts. Phrases like, you know, I mean, or like can be useful. Just don't overdo them. Over time, you'll get better at using these fillers sparingly and appropriately. Alternatively, you can also use a brief pause, which is perfectly natural in conversation. Remember, silence isn't always a bad thing. It can give weight to your words and allow the listener to absorb what you've just said. Let's also explore how incorporating storytelling into your practice can transform your speaking skills. We all love a good story, right? Stories captivate us, help us connect on an emotional level, and make language memorable. I encourage you to practice telling stories in English. Maybe recount a funny incident from your day, a childhood memory, or even a fictional tale. The act of storytelling forces you to think in English and organize your thoughts in a coherent and natural way. Plus, it's a lot of fun. And who knows? With practice, you might just become the storyteller everyone in your group looks forward to hearing. Sometimes, learning to speak naturally also means getting creative with your practice. One approach I've experimented with is role-playing different scenarios. For instance, imagine you're at a cafe, ordering a drink, or meeting someone for the first time. Play out these scenarios with a friend or even by yourself. Use everyday language. Think about how you'd actually interact, and don't worry about making mistakes. It's all about building a mental script that feels genuine and spontaneous. Over time, you'll find that these rehearsed yet natural dialogues start to merge with your everyday conversations, making your speech smoother and more instinctive. I also want to touch on the topic of pronunciation, which can often be a source of anxiety for many language learners. One of the best ways to improve your pronunciation is to mimic the sounds of native speakers. Listen carefully to how they form words and try to replicate that. It might help to break words down into syllables and practice each part separately before putting them together. Don't shy away from practicing tongue twisters. They're a fun and challenging way to master the pronunciation of tricky sounds. Remember, consistency is key. Even if you spend just a few minutes a day on focused pronunciation exercises, you'll gradually notice a difference. Another tip that I find incredibly valuable is to set specific, manageable goals for yourself. Instead of overwhelming yourself with the idea of becoming fluent overnight, focus on small, incremental improvements. Maybe today you'll work on reducing your reliance on fillers, and tomorrow you might focus on expanding your vocabulary with everyday expressions. Celebrate these small victories. They're the building blocks of fluency. Over time, these little improvements add up, and before you know it, you'll be speaking English with a natural flow that feels effortless. Now, I'd love to address some common challenges that many learners face. One issue is the fear of sounding too foreign or having an accent that stands out. It's completely natural to have an accent. Your accent is part of your unique identity. The goal isn't to eliminate it entirely, but rather to ensure that your speech is clear and understandable. If you're concerned about this, try practicing with a focus on clarity rather than erasing your accent. Overemphasizing certain sounds or trying to mimic a native accent too closely can actually make you sound less natural. Instead, aim for a balance where your accent adds character without hindering communication. Another challenge is dealing with the anxiety of speaking in front of others, especially in settings like presentations or group discussions. One strategy that has worked wonders for me is to prepare a few go-to phrases that you can use when you feel nervous. Simple phrases like, "Let me rephrase that," or "What I'm trying to say is," can buy you a little time and help you regain your composure. Also, remind yourself that it's okay to pause, take a breath, and collect your thoughts. Most people appreciate a well thought out response rather than a rushed, jumbled one. Sometimes you might feel stuck at a plateau where it seems like no matter how much you practice, you're not improving. During those times, it helps to switch up your routine. Instead of your usual method of studying, try something new. Maybe join an online discussion forum, watch a new genre of English films, or even take a cooking class in English. The change in environment and exposure can provide a fresh perspective and reignite your passion for learning. Remember, variety is not just the spice of life, it's also a key ingredient in language learning. I also want to share a little secret with you: self-compassion. It's so important to be kind to yourself on this journey. Language learning is filled with ups and downs. There will be moments of brilliance when words flow effortlessly, and moments of frustration when it feels like you're back at square one. In those challenging times, remind yourself of how far you've come. Every conversation, every practice session, every mistake is a step toward becoming a more confident and natural speaker. And trust me, the progress is real, even if it doesn't always feel that way in the moment. Another aspect worth mentioning is the role of cultural context in language. English isn't just a collection of words and grammar rules. It's also a window into diverse cultures, histories, and ways of thinking. By immersing yourself in different aspects of English-speaking cultures, be it through music, literature, or even travel, you'll gain a deeper understanding of how language reflects the nuances of everyday life. For instance, the laid-back vibe in certain American regions is often mirrored in their speech, where phrases are more relaxed, and sentences might trail off with a thoughtful pause. Recognizing these cultural inflections can help you adopt a style of speaking that's both authentic and contextually appropriate. Let's switch gears for a moment and talk about some fun, interactive exercises you can try at home. One of my favorite activities is a daily Word of the Day challenge, but with a twist. Instead of just learning a new word, challenge yourself to use it in at least 5 different sentences throughout your day. Not only does this expand your vocabulary, but it also forces you to think about how the word fits naturally into different contexts. For example, if the word is vibrant, you might say, "This painting is so vibrant," or "I had a vibrant discussion with my friend today." It's these little habits that gradually build a more intuitive grasp of the language. Another engaging exercise is to find a short news article or a blog post in English and summarize it out loud in your own words. This not only reinforces your comprehension skills, but also helps you practice structuring your thoughts in a way that sounds natural. It's like having a mini conversation with yourself about current events or topics that interest you. And don't worry if it feels challenging at first. The more you do it, the more naturally the words will start to come. Now, I know that sometimes you might feel overwhelmed by all these techniques and tips. It might seem like there's a never ending list of things to practice, and you could be wondering where to start. My advice: start small and be consistent. Pick one or two techniques that resonate with you and integrate them into your daily routine. Maybe you begin with the mirror method for a few minutes each day, or set aside time to watch a short video in English without subtitles. The key is to make these practices a regular part of your life, so they become second nature. I want to stress the importance of patience here. There are days when you might feel that you're not progressing as quickly as you'd like, and that's completely okay. Language learning isn't a race, it's a journey. Every bit of practice, every conversation, every moment of exposure to natural English builds up your skills, even if you don't see immediate results. Trust the process and know that each day brings you closer to your goal of speaking English naturally and confidently. Let me share another story that might resonate with you. There was a time when I had a chance to speak in front of a small audience at a local event. I was incredibly nervous, and as I started talking, I could feel my words stumbling. But then I remembered all the practices I'd been doing, my mirror sessions, the language meetups, and the daily narrations of my actions. Slowly, I began to find my rhythm. I started to relax and enjoy the moment. And by the end of my talk, I realized that the audience wasn't there to judge me. They were there to listen and connect. That experience reaffirmed my belief that speaking naturally is more about connecting with people than it is about perfect grammar or flawless pronunciation. I also want to mention something that often goes overlooked: the power of nonverbal communication. When you speak, your body language, facial expressions, and gestures play a huge role in conveying your message. Try to relax your body, smile, and use natural hand movements that feel comfortable to you. These nonverbal cues not only make your speech more engaging, but also help express the emotions behind your words. If you ever feel stuck, even a simple smile or a relaxed posture can make a big difference in how naturally your words come out. And then there's the fun of exploring new topics. Sometimes, learning to speak naturally is about expanding your conversational horizons. Challenge yourself to read about topics you're unfamiliar with or watch documentaries on subjects that pique your interest. Whether it's art, science, history, or technology, immersing yourself in a wide range of subjects exposes you to different vocabularies and expressions. Plus, when you're conversing with someone about a topic you're passionate about, your enthusiasm naturally translates into more fluid and engaging speech. Let's not forget the importance of humor. Humor is a universal language, and using it can make your speech feel more natural and relaxed. Don't be afraid to laugh at yourself or share a funny anecdote. A little humor not only lightens the mood, but also creates a more inviting atmosphere for conversation. For instance, if you mix up a phrase or mispronounce a word, sometimes just laughing it off can ease any tension and make the interaction more enjoyable for everyone involved. I also want to touch on the idea of reflection and journaling. At the end of each day, spend a few minutes writing down or even recording a voice note about what you did, how you felt, and any interesting interactions you had in English. Over time, you'll begin to notice patterns, improvements, and areas where you might still struggle. This reflection not only reinforces your learning, but also gives you tangible evidence of your progress. It's incredibly motivating to look back and see how far you've come, especially on days when you might feel discouraged. As we continue on this journey together, remember that every small effort counts. There's no single magical formula to speaking English naturally. It's about experimenting, finding what works for you, and embracing the beautiful messiness of language learning. It's about celebrating every quirky phrase, every mispronounced word, and every moment of genuine connection you create with others. Each conversation is a building block, a step forward in your journey toward fluency. Before I wrap up this extended session, I want to remind you of something very important. Be proud of your progress. It doesn't matter if you're just starting out or if you've been on this journey for a while. The fact that you're actively working on improving your English is something to be celebrated. Every conversation, every practice session, every moment of self-doubt followed by courage is a victory. And remember, speaking naturally isn't just about the language. It's about expressing who you are and sharing your unique perspective with the world. So, as we draw this part of our conversation to a close, I encourage you to take these insights, try out these exercises, and most importantly, have fun with it. Embrace the process, be patient with yourself, and don't be afraid to let your personality shine through every word you speak. I truly believe that with time, practice, and a lot of heart, you will speak English as naturally as you breathe. By now, you've gathered plenty of tips and strategies, from overcoming the fear of mistakes to practicing with the mirror method, joining conversation circles, and even embracing the musical quality of English. Today, let's take our journey even further. I want to share more real-life techniques and exercises that you can incorporate into your daily routine, so your English not only sounds natural, but also truly reflects who you are. Let's start by talking about the power of active listening. You might have heard me mention this before, but there's always more to unpack here. Active listening isn't just about hearing the words. It's about understanding the emotions, the pauses, and even the unsaid messages in a conversation. Try this. Next time you're watching an interview or a talk show, focus on how the speakers use pauses to emphasize their points. Notice the way their tone shifts when they're excited versus when they're reflective. This isn't just background noise, it's the heartbeat of natural conversation. When you become more aware of these nuances, you can start to mimic them in your own speech. It might help to pause your favorite clip and repeat a short segment, paying close attention to every inflection and pause. With regular practice, you'll start to notice a transformation in your own speaking style. Now, let's explore another exciting exercise: dialogue simulation. I want you to imagine a scenario: a casual chat at your favorite coffee shop, a conversation with a new friend at a party, or even a brief interaction with a neighbor. Close your eyes if you need to and visualize the situation. What greetings do you exchange? How do you transition from small talk to deeper conversation? Try to mentally rehearse the dialogue, focusing on natural expressions and contractions. Then open your eyes, grab a notebook, and jot down a few key phrases or even entire exchanges that felt genuine. Later, practice these dialogues out loud. You might even record yourself and compare your tone to the original scenario in your mind. This kind of role-playing exercise is immensely powerful. It bridges the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical, everyday speech. Another element that's crucial for natural speech is intonation variation. We touched on this earlier, but let's delve a little deeper. Think about the sentence, "I can't believe you did that." When you say it in a flat tone, it loses all the emotional punch. However, when you let your voice rise on "can't believe" and drop dramatically on "you did that," it sounds vibrant and full of life. Experiment by taking a sentence and reading it in multiple ways: excitedly, sadly, sarcastically, and inquisitively. Notice how the meaning changes with each variation. This exercise not only helps you understand the emotional weight of your words, but also gives you a greater command over how to express yourself naturally in different contexts. I also want to highlight the importance of real-time thinking. One of the challenges in speaking naturally is the tendency to overthink every word before it leaves your mouth. Instead of waiting for the perfect phrase, allow yourself to be spontaneous. When you're in a conversation, Aim for flow rather than perfection. Sometimes you might say something that sounds a bit off, and that's perfectly okay. What matters most is that you're communicating. Over time, with more practice and less self-censorship, your thoughts will start to flow more freely, and the natural rhythm of English will become second nature. It can be incredibly liberating to let go of the need to be perfect and simply enjoy the interaction. Let's switch gears and dive into another practical exercise: storytelling in everyday life. I invite you to start a daily habit of sharing a brief story about your day. It could be as simple as what you had for breakfast, an interesting conversation you overheard, or a funny incident that happened at work. The key is to describe these moments in English, using a mix of simple and complex sentences to capture the essence of your experience. Over time, you'll notice that your ability to recall and narrate details in English improves dramatically. And remember, the more personal and genuine your stories, the more natural your speech will sound. Each story is a mini adventure that not only enriches your vocabulary, but also boosts your confidence in sharing your thoughts. Another valuable strategy is to engage with interactive language tools. While nothing beats real-life conversation, technology offers some fantastic ways to practice. Voice recognition apps, language exchange platforms, and even AI-driven conversation partners can provide immediate feedback on your pronunciation and fluency. Try setting aside a few minutes each day to have a conversation with an app or even record a voice journal. These tools allow you to track your progress over time and identify specific areas for improvement. The beauty of this approach is that it's both fun and highly personalized. Tailor your practice to the topics you're most passionate about, whether that's travel, cooking, or even your favorite TV shows. Speaking of passion, let's talk about using topics you love as a vehicle for natural speech. It's much easier to speak naturally when you're discussing something that excites you. Think about your hobbies, interests, or even your career. When you're passionate about a topic, your language naturally adapts to include the vocabulary, expressions, and tone that reflect that enthusiasm. So, why not integrate these subjects into your practice sessions? Discuss your favorite book, describe a recent trip, or share your thoughts on a trending news story. Not only does this make your practice sessions more engaging, but it also broadens your vocabulary and enhances your ability to switch between casual and formal registers effortlessly. I want to circle back to the idea of embracing mistakes. Remember, every error is a stepping stone to improvement. Instead of fearing mistakes, welcome them as opportunities to learn. Each mispronounced word or awkward pause is simply a sign that you're pushing your boundaries and stepping out of your comfort zone. Over time, these so-called mistakes will fade into the background, replaced by a newfound confidence in your natural speaking ability. It might help to keep a small journal where you note down common mistakes you notice, then review them periodically to track your progress. This reflective practice not only reinforces learning, but also serves as a gentle reminder that every step forward is progress. Let's also discuss the importance of cultural immersion. Language isn't created in a vacuum. It's deeply intertwined with culture. When you immerse yourself in English-speaking cultures, you gain invaluable insights into how language functions in various social contexts. Watch movies, listen to music, read books, and even try cooking recipes from different regions where English is spoken. Notice the idioms, jokes, and even the body language that accompany everyday interactions. This cultural context enriches your language skills, making your speech more vibrant and naturally attuned to the subtleties of different social settings. One fun exercise I absolutely love is to have a day in English. Choose one day of the week where you commit to using English exclusively. Whether you're at home, at work, or interacting with friends who are also learning. It might seem challenging at first, but you'll be amazed at how quickly you adapt when you force yourself to step away from the comfort of your native language. The more you practice this, the more seamless the transition becomes. Before you know it, you'll find yourself thinking and even dreaming in English, a sure sign that you're truly internalizing the language. As we explore these diverse techniques, it's crucial to remember that progress often comes in small, almost imperceptible increments. Some days, you might feel like you're speaking naturally, and other days, you might struggle to find the right words. Both are completely normal parts of the learning curve. What's important is that you keep moving forward, no matter how small the step. Celebrate every bit of progress and be gentle with yourself on tougher days. I also want to emphasize the role of community support. Finding a group of like-minded learners or even native speakers who are willing to chat and exchange ideas can be incredibly beneficial. Not only does it provide a safe space for practice, but it also offers different perspectives on language use. Sharing your experiences, asking for feedback, and even listening to others' challenges can help you realize that you're not alone on this journey. Plus, it's a great way to make friends and learn about different cultures, all while improving your English. Before we wrap up this segment, let's touch on one more essential element: the mindset of a lifelong learner. Language learning is an ongoing process. There's always something new to discover, even for native speakers. Embrace the idea that you'll never be perfect, and that's okay. Every conversation is an opportunity to learn, every mistake a chance to grow. When you adopt this mindset, the pressure to be flawless fades away, leaving you free to express yourself more naturally and authentically. As we near the end of today's deep dive, I want to leave you with a few final thoughts. First, trust yourself. Your journey to speaking English naturally is unique, and every bit of effort you put in is shaping your progress. Second, keep experimenting with new methods. Whether it's through role-playing, storytelling, or using technology, find what resonates with you and run with it. And finally, remember that language is a living, breathing form of expression. It evolves, adapts, and grows, just like you. So, let your natural self shine through every word you speak. I hope these additional tips and exercises inspire you to keep pushing forward. Your dedication and passion are what make this journey so rewarding. If you ever feel stuck or discouraged, just revisit these exercises, share your thoughts in the comments, or reach out to someone in our community. We're all in this together, learning from one another and celebrating every little victory. Thank you once again for staying with me through this extensive exploration of how to speak English naturally. Remember, every day is a new opportunity to practice, improve, and express yourself with confidence. Keep embracing your unique voice, stay curious, and most importantly, enjoy the journey. I'm here cheering you on every step of the way. Until next time, keep speaking, keep smiling, and keep letting your natural English flow like the vibrant, dynamic conversation it's meant to be. I can't wait to catch up with you again in our next session. Have a wonderful day, and as always, stay true to yourself and your love for the language.